Hey guys, this is Mrs. Schoenberg, and I am going to walk you through this study guide. This is our study guide for MA066. Please print it out. Remember, this is for an assignment out in Hawks, so make sure and do it out there as well. But we're going to start off by doing some solving of this inequality and graphing. So moving -4, I have 2z is greater than -8 dividing by 2. I have z is greater than -4. So the solution z is greater than -4. So on this number line, I'm going to use an open parenthesis, and I'm going to go all the way to infinity. And you would use a closed parenthesis if it was greater than or equal to. If it's equal to, greater than or equal to, you use that hard bracket. Infinity is always going to have the open parenthesis, same with negative infinity. So it says express your answer in algebraic notation. This is algebraic notation, not integral. Then you can graph it that way, okay? So always read the instructions there. Number 2, plotting these points, easy points. Make sure you really know how to plot, though. I do see students from time to time get this wrong. A is -5 and up 4. Always graph your x before you do your y. B, the x is -1, and then the y holds at 0. Okay, so you stay. Then they'll also have a graph. I don't know why it's not showing up here, but they'll have a graph with points, and then you get to tell what are the coordinates of those points. Do number 3 as well. It's just more practice. You'll be surprised. You get confused in the moment. So just practice, practice, practice. Moving on to number 4. This is, we're going to graph a line by plotting any two ordered pairs. And in this one right here, I always start with doing an XY table. Just helps me keep track of what I'm doing. And I always try to do a 0 first. I just try to make it easy on myself. So let's see what happens when we put a 0 in for x. Then let's solve for y. So we're going to get y on a side by itself. So -5y, -5y. So I have 0 equals -5y. I think I went through that a little extra step there. I didn't have to. But when x is 0, you put in a 0, you get a 0. So sometimes Hawks will make you put in the coordinate, and it'll plot the point, or sometimes you'll have to plot it. But we only have one here. We need 2 points for it to draw the line. So using this same -8x plus 5y, we get to come up with whatever point we want. And I try to be strategic. I'm going to choose an x for 5. So I'm going to put in an x for 5. I'm going to substitute in an 5. And let's solve for y. So this time I have -40 plus 5y equals 0. -40 equals -5y. Divide by -5. And y equals +8. So I have my other coordinate. And after you have those two and you put that answer in, Hawks will automatically draw that line for you. Okay. Moving on to number 5, we need to use our knowledge of x and y intercepts to choose the correct graph. So we have these to choose from. We have A, we have B, we have C, and we have D. Okay. So when we're doing an x and y intercept, the first time through, you put in a 0 for x and you solve for y. So in that case, we have 0 minus y equals 3, -y equals 3, y equals -3. So which one has a pair, coordinate, which one of these? 0, -3. Nope. Ooh, this is a possibility. 0, -3. This one's a possibility. And that's not going to work because it doesn't go through that. Okay, well, we need to put a 0 in for y this time. x minus 0 equals 3, x equals positive 3. Okay, out of these two that we were looking at B and C. Which one has a point? Go over 3, stay at 0. Nope. Yes. So the answer to that one is C. Okay, let's practice some more x and y intercept. First time through, we're going to put a 0 in for x. So I'll come over here, I'll put in my 0 for x, I'll solve for y. So we have 9y equals negative 3. Y equals negative 1/3. Okay, so we have 1 point here, 0, negative 1/3. And then we're going to do the same thing again, but this time we're going to put a 0 in for y. 6x equals negative 3. X equals, simplifying that, negative 1/2. Okay, so once again, you can put in those coordinates and Hawks will draw the line. Sometimes it makes you plot those points. Number 7, negative 2x equals 2. Okay, I hope you're not scared of these anymore. I hope you see that, hey, there's no y. I need to get x by itself. That is the first step. To get x by itself, we're going to divide both sides by negative 2. So we have x equals negative 1. Then, I hope you remember that when you have x equals negative 1, it is a straight line. You need to ask yourself, is this a vertical line or is this a horizontal line? One of the little clues I gave you is that the x is kind of made up of all these v's, if you will. V as in vertical. And if you can't remember that, that's okay. Here's my next little hint I give you. When you draw your x and y table here, x is equal to negative 1. It is always equal to negative 1. It's never going to change. Now, y can be anything you want here. You only need 2 points, but let's plot a couple of these. Negative 1, 0, negative 1, 1, negative 1, 2. And you'll see that that is a vertical line that goes through x equals negative 1. Number 8, find the slope. This is the slope formula is on the formula sheet, so you don't even have to memorize it. But it's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And you can always label your points just to see how you do. So you have 4 minus negative 2 over negative 1 minus negative 3. 4 plus positive 2 is 6. Negative 1 plus 3 is 2. And that slope is equal to 3. All right, this one we need to write it into slope-intercept form. All we must do is to get this y on a side by itself. So let's start by adding the 6x to both sides. So I have negative 3y equals 6x plus 15. Then I divide everything, every single term by that negative 3. Y equals negative 2x, and then that's going to become a minus 5. So that's the answer. Y equals negative 2x minus 5. All right, number 10 we're not going to do, but I am going to give you the answer. Y equals negative 10/9x minus 7 over 2. And I'm not going to do number 11, but here's the answer. Y equals negative 3/4 x plus 27 over 4. All right, number 12. We're going to find an equation in slope-intercept form. We're just given the line passing through these points. Step 1 on this is we're going to find slope. And that's going to be equal to 0 minus 4 over negative 1 minus negative 3. That is negative 4 over. So my slope is negative 2. Step 2, I'm going to use point slope form. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. That's also on the formula sheet. And I get to choose the x1 and y1. So I'm going to be substituting in x1, y1, and also m equals negative 2. So y minus 0 is equal to negative 2 times x minus negative 1. Y equals negative 2 times x plus 1. And then go ahead and distribute that. Y equals negative 2x minus 2. So y equals negative 2x minus 2. All right, I'm going to give you the answer to number 13, but do know, make sure you know how to use the parallel. You're going to still use the point slope form, and you're going to slope on this one is negative 2 since it's parallel. The parallel slope is also negative 2. It's exactly the same. And you'll use this point, x1, y1. You'll get, surprisingly enough, you're going to get this exact same answer. Don't think you messed up or anything. It's the exact same answer as the last problem. I thought that was so weird when I did it. Okay, we are going to do number 14 together. You can be sure to see a to know how to do this. Yeah, I think you'll see it. Okay, but we need to find a line that's perpendicular to this line. Now this time, what is our slope? You would say 2/3. Okay, so what is the perpendicular slope, or what is the negative reciprocal? And so we're going to flip it and make it the opposite sign. So I'm going to use this, and I'm also going to use x1 and y1. And I'll use point slope form. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So y minus negative 3, I'm pulling that negative 3 from my point up here, equals m, which we need the perpendicular slope, times x minus 4. That becomes y plus 3. And then let's distribute this. That's negative 3 halves x. That becomes plus. But then we kind of have to multiply this out. And so we have y plus 3 equals negative 3 over 2x plus 4 times 3. Okay, so that becomes 12 over 2. 12 over 2 is actually 6, right? Now subtracting the 3, y equals negative 3 over 2x, 6 minus 3 plus 3. And that is the answer, okay? Once you plot that, it'll be perpendicular to that other line. All right, the next one here, number 15. Use a calculator. Practice on your calculator on this one. You'll see one like this. The answer is negative 10. Number 16, this is a square root of a negative number. Okay, I think this will be, you have to choose, is this rational, irrational, or non-real? This is non-real. You cannot do a square root of a negative number. Simplify the following expression. Okay, we're going to rewrite this. We're going to think about 18 and rewrite it as a product, and one of them is a perfect square, so we're going to do 9 times 2. Y to the 4th is fine. Now we're actually going to take the square root of what we can. So is the square root of 9, out comes a 3. Can't do that one, it's going to stay under the radical sign. And since 4 is divisible by 2 here, the square root of y to the 4th is y squared, and underneath the radical sign is the 2. So that's the answer. Okay, now we're going to do this again. This time note the cubed root. So we have to think a little differently. We're going to rewrite 24 as 8 times 3. 8 is a perfect cube, 2 times 2 times 2, right? And we're going to keep y to the 6th the way it is because 6 is divisible by 3, the index. So when we actually take the cubed root of 8, out comes a 2. We cannot take the cubed root of 3. That's going to stay underneath the radical. When we take the cubed root of y to the 6th, out comes y to the 2. And do not forget to put your little index there, cubed root of 3. So when your final answer here is 2y squared cubed root of 3. All right, number 18, like terms. Look at these 3 carefully. 2 of them are like terms. Don't be tricked. Minus 6 cubed root 7 plus 5. This one is not a like term. So your final answer is you're going to be able to add negative 6 of these plus 5 of these, which is negative 1, or let's just do it this way. negative cubed root of 7 plus, you got to tack on 3 square root of 7, and that's the answer. A little tricky, in my opinion. Okay, number 20. Let's see what we can do here. Let's see if we can do any combining of these terms. Let's rewrite 75 as 25 times 3 and 49x. Okay, we can take the square root of that. When we do that, out comes a 5, and we're going to multiply it times the negative 3 that's already out there. You have to know that when that comes out, if there's a number sitting out there, you need to multiply it. So that becomes negative 15 square root 3. This one, out comes a 7, and we're going to multiply it. So we have minus 49 square root x. And we're really done because we cannot combine these whatsoever. So the answer here is negative 15 square root 3 minus 49 square root x. Okay, number 21. Let's simplify first and then combine like terms. We're going to rewrite this as 9 times 3. 12 we're going to rewrite as 4 times 3. 75, 25 times 3. Okay, let's take the square root of 9. Out comes a 3. Multiply that times the 4. We have 12 square root 3. Out comes a 2 on this next one. And out comes a 5. So we have plus 20 square root 3. Now looky here, we have all like terms because they're all square root 3. So we have 12 plus 2 plus 20. So final answer is 34 square root 3. Okay, number 22, we are going to FOIL. Square root of 6 times the square root of 6 is 6. Square root of 6 times positive 7 is 7 square root 6. 6 times square root 6 is plus 6 square root 6. 6 times 7 is plus 42. Combining like terms, plus 6 plus 42, that's 48. Plus 7 and plus 6 is plus 13 square root 6, and that is the answer, 48 plus 13 square root 6. See, you guys got this. This isn't too bad, right? 23, let's FOIL some more. Square root 5y times square root 5y is just 5y. Square root 5y times 3 is plus 3 square root 5y. 5 times square root 5y is plus 5 square root 5y. And 5 times 3 is 15. The only like terms we have here are these two middle ones. So the final answer is 5y plus 3 plus 5 plus 8 plus 15. Okay, next one's on you, but here's the answer. See if you get this. 4x minus 15 square root x plus 9. Okay, 25, we are going to rationalize this denominator. This is where we use that conjugate. So see that minus sign? We are going to do a plus sign. Everything else is the same, and what we do to the bottom, we have to do to the top. This, believe it or not, gets rid of the radical sign in the denominator. Okay, so now we have 56 plus 7 square root 3. And on the bottom here, I have 64 plus 8 square root 3 minus 8 square root 3, and then minus 3. So on the top here, that's as far as that can be simplified. On the bottom, notice these two middle terms cancel each other out, which is exactly what we want. And we have 64 minus 3. Okay, so that is the final answer, 56 plus 7 square root 3 divided by 61. Okay, 26. Let's rationalize the denominator here. First, I'm going to break this up into two separate little problems over the fraction. Okay, we only really care about the bottom. We have to get rid of the radical sign. Well, y squared, we cannot take the cube root of that. But man, if that was y to the third power, we could definitely do that. So that is what we're going to multiply by. If we multiply by y to the 1, that will bump that up to y to the 3rd. And what we do to the bottom, we have to do to the top. Okay, so after that step, we have cubed root of 6y. And on the bottom, we have the cubed root of y cubed. Well, 3 is divisible by 3. So we're going to have our answer here. We're done with the top. There's nothing more to do. Over y. Cubed root of 6y over y. That's the answer. Okay, finally, number 27. Let's go ahead and simplify this. Notice I'm starting from the inside out, adding 2 to all sides. Negative 18 is less than 3x, which is less than 21. Divide by 3. We have negative 6 is less than x, which is less than 7. This wants interval notation, okay? When we do the graph, they're both going to be parentheses. And the interval notation looks like this, okay? And finally, this is the very last one. Well, let's go ahead and solve it. It's a little more challenging, but you can do it. Negative 8x minus 8 less than or equal to negative 2x plus 10. At this point, I want you to get x on the first side. So let's get x's on one side. Negative 8x plus 2x is negative 6x. Minus 8 less than or equal to 10. Now let's add 8 over here. Negative 6x less than or equal to 18. Now I'm going to divide by negative 6. Beep, beep, beep. Why am I doing that? It is because I need to switch my inequality sign. So the solution here, x is greater than or equal to negative 3. So let's say that's negative 3. We would use a bracket here all the way to positive infinity. So negative 3, comma, positive infinity is the interval notation. And that is the answer to 28. Guys, I hope this helps you. I hope this helps raise your confidence level. You can do this test. Good luck.